All right, I think we're ready to go. Welcome, everybody, to the February 2023 regular council meeting. And thanks for the flexibility of the inclement weather we had last week to postpone this until tonight, since we had this area open up as a warming station a week ago right now. So everybody is here. Great to see you, council. And if you'd all join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Please take your seats. All right, for item number 3, proclamations and presentations, 2 things on the agenda. The first thing is to welcome the Boy Scouts that are here tonight working on their communications merit badge. Did I get that right, Todd?
Mostly, yeah.
Okay. I'd like to have 2 troops here. 2 troops? Yep. Holy cow. I'd like to have everybody from the Scouts come on up to the front so we can introduce you and say thanks for being here. This is part of your merit badge. Okay, so what we're going to do, so the parents can film and take pictures, we're going to cycle through, starting with you. You're going to come up here and introduce yourself, what troop you're from, and where you are in Scouts and where you go to school. Okay? Does that work? So come on forward.
All right, my name's Dane Olson. I'm with Troop 828 here. I go to Davenport High School. What was the other stuff?
Just go Wolves. Expand on go Wolves. That's great. So what year are you almost done with Scouts? I mean, you're working on your Eagle Scout, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I'm at the life rank right now, so it's
Okay.
the second to last rank until I get Eagle. Just got to do my project, get a few merit badges, and I'll be good.
We have a list of projects for you.
Well, that'd be useful.
Okay, great. Say go Wolves one more time.
Go Wolves!
Okay, good. Next.
Howdy, I'm Dalton. I'm from Shirt, so I go to Clemens.
It's okay.
I'm here with 828, and I'm also on my last year of Scouts and just trying to beat him to Eagle.
Congrats.
And he's
Thanks
got
for
his
being
project done already.
Come on forward.
Who said that?
My name is Owen. I'm in Troop
You
828.
can do this. That's part of your communications badge.
I'm in Troop 828. I go to OLPH,
That's great. Good job. Where are you in Scouts?
first class.
Fantastic. Good job. Go LPH. Come on.
Hello, my name is Riley Listenby. I go to Danville Middle School, and I
Wolves.
go Wolves, and I am first class.
Good job.
My name is Carter Gasparovich. I go to Danville Middle School. I'm second class.
My name is Ethan Williams. I go to Corbett Junior High. I'm tenderfoot working on first class.
Good job. 828, right? Troop 828?
Class.
Okay. Please.
Hello, I am Cashel Winstead. I'm in Troop 512, and I go to Corbett Junior High down in Church. And I'm a first class.
First class, okay.
Hello, I'm Connor Turnage, and I am a part of Troop 512. I am currently a Star Scout, and the school I go to is Davenport High School.
Go Wolves.
Hello, my name is Sean Turnage. I am a scout at Troop 512. I'm currently life rank, and I go to Davenport High School.
Go Wolves.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Big round of applause. Guys, you can go take more notes now. Good job. Yeah, that's great. Sorry, wait, back. See, I need my communications.
We got a late shower.
Oh, you have to introduce yourself right here.
I'm Timothy, Lissy, and I'm a first class scout.
Where do you go to school?
I go to Dobie Junior High.
Okay. Troop 828?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic, good job. Okay, another round of applause. We need the scout master from 828 up here on the other side, Todd. Everybody's in front of me. Okay, again, part of the communications merit badge is listening to people. So come here in front of the podium, just line up right there, come together. We don't need the podium. Front right there. I'm working towards my merit. Okay. Good.
1, 2, 3.
Got it? Parents, you good? Good job, guys. She's here? Okay, perfect. All right, like we always say, that's the best part of my job, right? So item number 3B, I'm going to turn over to Jesse to make the introductions now.
Thank you, Mayor. Next, we have a presentation on the Alamo Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. Sonia Jimenez is here. She's the Deputy Director. She'll be giving an overview of the association. So my work is, I work with the MPO as part of the TAC team, Technical Advisory Committee. So, Sonia?
Welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. I'm catching my breath. I was rushing over here from downtown San Antonio, so I'm glad I made it in time. It's great
Thanks for being
to see
safe.
the boys get recognized for their efforts at Boy Scouts, too. So I was driving over here thinking, I should tell them a joke about maybe there's somebody that can do something about this traffic. So anyway, that's the best I can do, and I'll keep my day job. So I am Sonia Jimenez with the Alamo Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, and we go by AMPO for short because it's a big, a lot of words to say there. I'll do my best to avoid acronyms today, but please stop me if there's anything that I say that you have a question about. So this afternoon or this evening, I'm going to go over generally about the AMPO, our funding mechanisms, as well as our required documents, our capability and programs, and things that I would like for the council to consider as we move forward through the planning process. So the AMPO is essentially the regional transportation planning entity, and we distribute federal dollars. And those dollars improve mobility, air quality, and safety, which is all contributes to our quality of life. We cover, our study areas shown here. We cover 3.5 counties, including Bexar, Guadalupe, Comal, and Kendall. This is a very impressive slide if you really study the numbers. We are looking at double the population and only 1,000 additional miles for lane miles. And so that's something to really consider as we think about planning between now and 2050. So our job is to really be sure that we encompass all modes of transportation into our planning, because our lane miles are not going to get us there with double the population. So we're going to be really looking at transit and alternative forms of transportation as we move forward through the next 30 years, essentially. By law, we are mandated to do the 3C planning process, which includes cooperative, meaning that no single agency is responsible for making everything happen in the planning process. Comprehensive, as I said before, all modes of transportation that representative of the entire region. And then continuous. As soon as we finish one plan, we start another. And so it's continually planning for the future, whether it's short, mid, or long term. These are our boards and committees. Councilmember Valdez serves on our TAC. Before it gets to the TAC, it goes through the Active Transportation Advisory Committee, and then from the TAC, it goes up to the Transportation Policy Board. We do have our current Commissioner Webb is our chair from Comal County, and he'll be our chair until the summer. So if there's anything you really want him to do, get in his ear tonight and tell him what you want him to get done. I have a feeling he'll probably still stay on the board, even though he won't be the chair, and we hope that he does, because he has a lot of great information and historical background with the agency. As you can see here, these are our policy board members. As I said, the chair is from Comal County. We do have representation from City of New Braunfels, as well as the Northeast Partnership, which encompasses a lot of the folks. I know that you guys have a membership with the Northeast Partnership, and so that's another avenue that you can get some of your things addressed if you have something on the agenda that you want, have a particular stance you would like somebody to take for you. So our funding sources, as I said, they're federally, they come down from the feds. We have FTA, which is the Transit Administration, Section 5303, that allows for multimodal planning. Our PL, which is Planning 112 3C planning process, that comes from the Federal Highway Administration. And then very recently, as I'm sure you all are aware of, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act was passed in late fiscal year of 2022. And that did continue the Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act elements were extended, and they added more programs and more grant opportunities. The main thing that they added were grant opportunities to local governments, which is not typical, and for nonprofits. And I'll go over that a little bit later about local opportunities. State funding, we get the state gas taxes. Again, I'm sure you all are aware that that tax has not been indexed since the 90s, and so it's really a shortfall in terms of getting us more transportation dollars. But we do have Proposition 1, which is an increment from the oil and the oil and natural gas tax, and then Proposition 7, which is another increment that comes from the local sales and the motor vehicle sales and rental tax. The local funding is pretty much localized to the San Antonio Bexar County area with the ATD, the Advanced Transportation District sales tax, and our Bexar County vehicle registration fees. The project funding categories, these are all the categories that TxDOT has available for funding that come from the federal administration. We concentrate on the ones that are in red. Category 5, congestion mitigation and air quality improvement, that we call that CMAQ. That is only in the Bexar County area because they are a non-attainment for air quality, and I'll go over that in a few minutes too. Category 7 is the most broad, and it can give you the most flexibility for funding types of projects, surface transportation block grant, we call it STBG. And then Category 9 is transportation alternatives, and that looks at alternatives to single occupancy vehicles. So mostly that is pedestrian and bicycle amenities. The other categories are really reserved for big projects in the area like 35. The 35 project itself does get MPO funding, but the majority of it comes from Category 2 and 12. As you can see here, as I mentioned before, the STBG is the most flexible. They can go all across all the funding categories, all the project types that we have listed here. The TA is limited to bicycle and pedestrian, and CMAQ is Bexar County only, so I won't touch on that too much. But as you can see, we can do a lot of things with STBG, including studies as well as projects. These are the documents that are required for us to deliver. The first one is a Unified Planning Work Program. That is our 2-year work program that is essentially our staff budget for studies and programs. In addition to that, anything that is federally funded in the region is captured in this document so that folks, for the public-facing information, they know that what is funded by the feds in the region. The next one is the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, the MTP. That is our long-range plan. We just finished Mobility 2050, and it's under federal review now for approval. The one below that is the Transportation Improvement Program, and that is our 4-year document that programs all the projects that actually get funded for construction in a 4-year program. We just finished the FY 23 through 26 one, and I'll go over that in a minute as well. And then the last one is the Transportation Conformity Determination. That is very specific to projects in Bexar County. Again, that has to do with non-attainment in terms of air quality. So I got ahead of myself, I'm sorry. Essentially, this says what I just said about the UPWP. The most important thing to take away from this is our current one includes a resiliency study, which is already underway. We'll be doing a curb management study for the region, which will include the majority of the main streets in the area, in the entire area, including Garden Ridge, if you guys want to be involved in that, and the freight study, which will be coming out. And so we'll be looking to form committees around curb management as well as freight study. And then the FY 24 through 25 UPWP is underway, and we'll be getting a work group together as well to look at different planning studies that we want to fund through the next couple years for that particular program. This is just an example of the different types of studies that have been funded through the UPWP with our planning dollars. The sub-regional planning study did take in part of Garden Ridge. I don't know if they actually came and talked to some of your folks around here, but you guys are included in the sub-regional planning study. New Braunfels, we paid for their transit study, and so you can see that if there's studies that you want funded, and we think that, and our board thinks that they're viable, then we can get those funded. So it's really good, particularly for smaller municipalities that don't have a lot of money to get studies funded through our system. As I said, the Metropolitan Transportation Plan is our long-range plan. It accounts for 20 years. We look at projected as well as current trends. So we look at where jobs, population, income, household mode choice, and more for that. And then we also look at where infrastructure should be built based on what we know about what's coming. We really rely on the local governments to give us some of their master plans and to talk to developers so that we know where to anticipate putting future infrastructure so that we can keep the area mobile. And then it has project selection guidance. So basically, this document has the vision that the board has and outlines what our intentions are moving forward over the next 20 years. And then it guides project selection as we go into the Transportation Improvement Program. And as I said, these are the list of transportation products that actually have been approved for funding, and the construction dollars are tied to them. So, and it's a constrained budget. So we go through a process every 2 years during a project call to get competitive projects into the project call, which leads to the formulation of the TIP. And it's guided by the MTP through vision and values. As I said, we typically do a call for projects for all 3 MPO funding programs, which I mentioned earlier, the STBG, the TA, and the CMAQ. It is a required 20% local match. It is reimbursable, and you have to follow all federal and state rules to be applicable and eligible for the funding. And the projects are typically programmed for 4 years, and we do 2 outer years for good measure because, as everybody knows, projects slip. And so we need to be able to have the ability to have those extra outer years to move them in or move them out of the TIP, if you will. So essentially the process is we do a project call, we get public input, and then we do project selection. It goes through pretty arduous. This is very, very high level. We go through technical scoring. We ask the agency what their priorities are. We look at project readiness, and again, we consider the public input, and then we go to the policy to get the board adoption of those actual projects and approved for funding. This is what the 23 through 26 ended up being for the TIP. As you can see, we had 68 projects that applied and 39 that got funded. And so we were looking at $654 million, and we allocated $376 million that was available at that time. And then the transportation conformity document, as I said, it has to do with our non-attainment in the Bexar County area. We were designated non-attainment for ozone in 2018. We just got reclassified to moderate from marginal, and so we'll have to continue to do long-range plans that have to be consistent with air quality goals. Again, that does not affect Comal County. It's only Bexar County projects. And this is essentially what we do for the modeling as it relates to the vehicle emissions associated with the Bexar County projects and the transportation conformity document. So we do a travel demand model. We look at the emission analysis, and what those analysis shows gives us the results, and then we have to figure out if those results are going to meet the EPA standard or not, and if they don't, then we're able to bring in what we call non-lit projects. For instance, via Metropolitan Transit is systematically changing from diesel to compressed natural gas vehicles. And so that gives us extra points with EPA to bring down those emissions, to put those emissions analysis where we need to be able to pass to get conformity. And then we have performance measures. So performance measures essentially look at the past performance, either of safety, infrastructure, or system performance, and then we use those measures to predict what will happen going forward. And so we use these measures, and they're reviewed annually for safety, every 2 years for infrastructure, and every 2 years for system performance under the FHWA requirements, the Federal Highway Administration requirements. And then under FTA, the Federal Transit Administration, the transit assets have to be reviewed annually and the transit safety is reviewed during MPO's planning processes. And then programs and capabilities, these are things that are available to the public and to our local sponsors as well, our partners. We have GIS and travel demand modeling. Again, if the City of Garden Ridge doesn't have those resources, we're happy to provide you all with GIS services or with travel demand modeling information if you need some information about traffic counts, going in and out of maybe a potential site for something that would be a traffic generator. I can't think of anything at this moment. Maybe like IKEA, if you wanted to see if IKEA was going, I know that's Live Oak. But just as an example, if you wanted to see, okay, they're going to put IKEA here, what is the current traffic counts in those areas and what is it going to generate? That's what our traffic demand modeling department does. And then we have an active transportation program, and we do street skills classes, which they can come to you if you have a group. And we teach them basically how to ride a bike in mixed traffic and safely become a defensive bike rider, because it's not always safe if you don't have a buffered. We also have walkable community programs where we come out and we do walkable audits for communities, figure out where they need sidewalks. It's just a way to get assessments so you can figure out what can you really do so that if you decide to walk or bike, it can really be safe for those folks. And then we have a commute solutions program, which is a rewards program that allows you to either anything outside of a single-use occupancy vehicle, you can get rewards for that. And so if you do transit, bike, or anything like that, and you don't have like a car to leave, and we also have an emergency ride home, because in San Antonio, it would take me an hour to get to work versus 20 minutes. And if I have an emergency, I need to get home sooner than an hour. So we offer those emergency ride homes throughout the region. And then finally, here we are in Garden Ridge. I finally got some information, but I do one of the things I want to highlight on here is the inset that has all the verbiage on it that we're pointing out, the project number as well as the text dot number. This is what it looks like in our transportation improvement program. So it's not that easy to read, but if you ever need any assistance figuring out what it says, I'm happy to help you with that. But essentially, if you look at, does this have a pointer on it? Yeah, okay, so if you look at here, you can see that STBG funding right here, number 7, you see how we got 12.5 here, and then the state was this much, and there's no local match there. That's because it's a TxDOT project. So the state has to do the match, but not the locals, so that's a benefit for you all. Up here is the CSJ, and that's the control section number in red. That's the one that TxDOT uses to refer to all of their projects. And then we have the MPO project number, which is the one that's circled in blue. This is the only project that I could find that was directly involved with the Garden Ridge area. And I understand y'all had some maybe a lack of communication with them. And what I understand is that this project should be wrapping up in 2026. Is that what I told you yesterday? I meant to look at it, 2026. It's a 41-month program. Yeah. I know that's not the best news, but at least you know it's under construction and it's coming. There's a lot of folks that don't even have any construction on the books yet. So, but we have a program that's called IMAP, which let me go back real quick. If you see up here in the upper right-hand corner, GIS, we have an IMAP program that maps all of our programmed projects. So you can just click on that IMAP and you can see all the projects as they're listed, either long-term or short-term. And then the other thing I wanted to point out, and I'll bring it, I left it in the car, but I did bring y'all some handouts for Project Tracker, and underneath the slide, I guess it got lost in translation when I sent it, but if you are not familiar with Project Tracker, it's a really great tool that TxDOT uses to track all their projects, and the public can just go online and look up the project. If you go over here, oh, sorry, wrong one. If you go right here and you enter the CSJ number, like I said you before, you can just put FM 2252 and it'll pop up and it'll zoom in and it'll show you, essentially this is it right here, 2252. And it'll show you all the information here. As you scroll a little bit further down, it'll even give you a contact number for the project manager, and it'll tell you the last time that it was updated. When I went up here, it did not have a completion date for construction. And that was the reason why I tracked down TxDOT and said, I know I'm going to get asked the question about 2252, so please give me the information. So I did as much as I could, but I can't speed up the construction for you all. And then lastly, I just wanted to go over some considerations that you might want to think about As I said, bipartisan infrastructure law, there's several different discretionary grants and formula funding opportunities. This current administration really encourages regionalism and partnerships. And so if there's any, if you wanted to partner with the county, if you wanted to partner with the state, if you wanted to partner with another city that's in, or municipality that's in the AMPO region, that would look really attractive in terms of applying for a project for grant money or funding, essentially, is what it comes down to. And then there's just a few that I listed: rail crossing eliminations, reconnecting communities, Safe Streets for All, which is essentially like a Vision Zero type of program, Healthy Streets program, INFRA, which is a acronym that it's a very long name for a program. They just call it INFRA for short. It's essentially it's multimodal freight and highway projects. Protect, which is resiliency. AMPO has a resiliency study, as I mentioned, that's currently underway. If there's projects in the area that we put on there on the resiliency study, we can reduce the match from 20% to 10%. So that's very effective in terms of impacts to local governments. And then RAISE is stormwater and plans, and then wildlife crossings pilot program. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And the other thing that I wasn't sure if you're aware of, but Councilman Valdez told me you are, is the State Infrastructure Bank. Because it is a reimbursable program, you have to pay your contractors, your consultants before TxDOT pays you back. And so that may be a way to get the money in the coffers so that you can keep things going to make progress forward. And I understand y'all use that for 2252, maybe sewer line relocations. Yeah, water line relocations. And then the last thing I'll point out is we do have a project readiness group. Because project delivery is the cornerstone of everything we do, we have to keep those projects being delivered. If they don't get delivered, we lose the money and it goes back to the state and it can be allocated to any other region. And so we want to keep the dollars here because we need them. And so we formed a project readiness group about 1.5 years ago. And so we're just trying to make sure that those projects are competitive and they will meet the time frame of being delivered within 4 years of that program. I think that's essentially it. And I'll take questions or comments.
Sonia, thank you so much for being here and getting through the traffic. Speaking of traffic and AMPO.
It's my job.
That's right. That's great. Thanks for what you do for all of us.
Sure.
So I'll go to my right with questions from council. Kelly, Lisa, Jesse, Todd? Okay.
No
Jesse,
questions.
back to you.
Yeah, I'm be getting back with you about some studies potentially for 3009 going forward, especially if there's a housing division coming up on Bat
Okay.
Cave, north of us, 300-400 houses. We need to know what that's going to impact. You mentioned a comment about some studies that we could predict,
The traffic demand modeling would be
Yeah,
perfect
so-
for that
so we may
situation. You
wanna-
can see what the current traffic counts are. They can model it to where they can see if you put something in there, what
what the
impacts
future
will
looks
be.
like, yeah.
Mhm.
So I'll get with you on that later, so.
Yeah. The other thing I'll mention, and I believe you should have gotten a reminder today, Councilman, is that the resiliency study, we currently have a roadways concern survey out there, and it's closing on Friday. But essentially, it's a GIS-based thing, and you can go on a map and tell us exactly where you have roadway concerns, whether it's related to the water crossings that always are flooded real easily, anything that has to do with keeping the system going during either inclement weather or, I mean, any number of things. It could be a railroad crossing that just backs up traffic. There's any number of things that we can do because we're going to take that information and create projects from that that'll be going to our resiliency study. And as I said, the projects that are listed on there will move forward. And if your project is listed in there, you get a savings on your local match.
Okay. I didn't get an email on that.
I'm going to send it to you then.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm going to
please.
run to my car and get those project tracker brochures just so you can
Just
have
drop it
them.
with Marissa. Yeah.
And I'll forward the
Yeah.
other thing to Marissa as well, the
Okay.
request that I sent out today.
Thank you very much for coming.
No
Yeah.
questions? Y'all are easy crowd. Thank you.
Sonia, actually, wait. No, the mayor has a couple questions,
Okay.
if you will. So
Yeah,
the
of
first thing I
course.
want to say is thank you
Yeah.
for coming here and speaking with us. I appreciate you being here and what you and your organization does for all of us in this greater AMPO area. What's driving the basically 2-year delay in the completion of the FM 2252 project? We're going to be ecstatic when the bridge over Cibolo Creek gets done, but what is that funding? Is that a lack of funding?
Well,
Pricing?
I can't tell you exactly because all I could get from them was a completion date. But what I would suspect is most projects are being delayed because of manpower shortages, supply chain shortages. I mean, all those things are just becoming stable again.
Okay.
Did I mention that we didn't do our STBG call? So we didn't do our STBG call this year because the board decided that it was more important to fund some of those cost increases that were already programmed to construction projects. And so, like I said, we have to keep delivering projects. And so if the board had not decided to do that, that project would have to go back into the competition. It would be 2 more years before they got the additional funding. And so our board, to me, very astutely decided, let's give them the money now so we can keep those projects rolling. So my suspicion is that they probably had cost increases and they had to go find money to supplement the cost increase. And they probably had construction labor shortages as well.
Okay, that makes sense. I just wanted to see if there was something else.
That's what I would suspect. I
Okay.
do not work for TxDOT, but I can get the information for you and certainly forward it to you.
I would love your point of contact at TxDOT, just
Well,
for
Will
one more
Lockett
person
is
to-
your person, and so I'm happy to send his contact information to
I have-
Marissa, and you
We
can
got
ask
that
him to
one.
come to a
Okay.
presentation. Yeah,
Um,
you can ask him to come and do a presentation to the group on FM 2252.
He's been here before, and
Okay.
we'll follow up with that. We'll have him
Yeah.
here again. Thank you. How does AAMPO compete with the other MPOs around the state for funding? How do we compete with them?
Okay, well, there's not a competition necessarily. We all it's formula funding that comes to each MPO based on our region and how much population is there.
But when we ask for 642 million and we get a little over 3,
Okay, to be clear, that was the project call. So
Okay.
all of our applicants totaled 642. We were
Okay.
only able to award 349 or whatever that number was. Our every budget is fiscally constrained, so we can't just take a wish list of projects and say, oh, we're going to fund them, right? So those ones that didn't make the cut this time, presumably they probably weren't ready, because as I said, you have to follow the federal guidelines for planning, right? And unfortunately, in the AMPO area, which is different from Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, we don't have discretionary funds to help with project readiness. We only fund the actual construction. So there's a series of things that have to happen to get to construction. If you're using federal dollars, you have to go through environmental clearance. A lot of times the right-of-way can be very cumbersome, depending on if you have 1 or 2 property owners that do not want to sell their property. That can really delay a project. And so if you don't have the right-of-way kind of buttoned up, you're really not going to be competitive unless you can say, we know that the landowners have already agreed, informally to go ahead and do this. Utility coordination can take a long time as well. So there's just a lot of things. If the railroad is involved, I don't know if y'all have ever had to do anything with the railroad, but Union Pacific is almost like dealing with the military. It's really, really hard to get their approval and get their attention when you're trying to do something locally. So all those things fit into project readiness, and that was, to be fair, I've only been here 1.5 years, and so when I started, I really realized that folks need to know what it means to be project ready. We can't just tell them. So we established this project readiness group so that people can understand what it means to be competitive and to assist them. And so we're coming up with flow charts and documents and things like that, so that I know that it's very hard for staff to come to elected officials when elected officials want a project. And so I'm trying to arm them with some good information so they can say, Mayor Erickson, I know you really want this project, but it's not going to be ready because we have to deal with Union Pacific, and it could take 4 years just to do that. So we're just trying to give them enough information so that entities can make informed decisions and decide if they're competitive before they actually go through the whole process of actually putting their name in for the
that was a
project
really good
call.
explanation, Sonia. Thank you. So we don't compete with other MPOs, but as funding, when we're not project ready, if you will, and we're not going to have 642 million, does that money should be there, does that money get dispersed to other MPOs that are project ready?
So let me go back to that slide, so it might be easier for me to explain it. So this number here represents the funding we had available, 376 million. The 654 equals the total requested, right? Because it is a competitive process. So this 376 is now programmed. The risk that we take is if the projects are not ready, and say it's, I don't know, $10 million project, and the project isn't ready, those funds can lapse. And if those funds lapse, then it goes back into the coffers and can be distributed anywhere across the state. And that's what we don't want to happen. We want to keep our money in our region. We want to deliver projects. So that's why we really focus on project readiness, so that those projects are actually going to go and turn dirt within the 4 years of that transportation improvement program.
Thank you. That clears that up for me. You talked about we're doubling our mileage,
Doubling our population.
a population.
I wish it was
and
our mileage.
Not mileage, but doubling our population, but not subsequently plussing up our roads.
That's right. We're only
That
going to have
enough.
1,000 additional lane miles.
So when you talk about other means, other modes of transportation, are you talking mass transit, like trains?
Trains have not traditionally been supported in the area. I'm sure you saw the Lone Star,
Yep.
district get decommissioned. In San Antonio, we saw, commuter rail get voted down again. So, I mean, trains is very long range. You think highways take a long time. It takes a long time to put trains in the system. It's not something we won't look at. I just don't know if there's a lot of will to get those put into place.
So what are you looking at then?
Well, we're looking at mass transit in terms of perhaps some kind of bus service between Austin and San Antonio. The 35 corridor is the one that's really just, as you guys have witnessed, I'm sure, is the one that's just really blowing up in terms of population. I don't know if you saw the San Antonio Express News about New Braunfels is supposedly supposed to be completely built out in 12 years, which is astounding. But so we're just trying to look at, and New Braunfels is looking at transit now. So, and this is going to sound silly, but there's also a bike trail that is planned between, from Austin to San Antonio as well. So some people might get on a bike. I mean, you never know, or walk, but we're looking at all kinds of things, I mean, by the time it comes to fruition, we may be looking at, air cabs and things like that. So there's a lot of things to consider. We just
All
need
right.
to be sure that we can keep up with the population as much as we can.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Jesse for inviting you today, and also how this connection works is through the Northeast Partnership. We wanted to have a say for us as residents of Garden Ridge, a little bit more of a say, if you will, and input into Alamo Area Metropolitan Organization. So through the Northeast Partnership, and specifically through Kevin Haddis, who's our representative to the board, we helped Jesse get appointed to the Technical Advisory Committee, and he's there. So thank you for what you do, Jesse, based on your expertise and making those meetings and working for everybody that's involved with AAMPO, because it's not just about Garden Ridge, but thanks for what your inputs with our city. So that's huge for us. And with that, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'll just add that he's been an excellent addition with his engineering background to our
Yep.
Technical Advisory Committee. And one of my background is public involvement consulting, and so I really want to elevate the brand and come to organizations like this, because I help people where I work for, and they're like, who's that? And at the end of the day, it's our tax dollars, and you all
Right.
should be contributing to the decisions that are being made.
Thank you. Is it okay if we get a quick picture so we can put it on our website?
Whatever you want.
So
I
the
forgot to
three of
remind
us
you.
up there, does that work?
I love that y'all like to take pictures for everything here. And thank you, I appreciate the time. Yes. I feel like I met you before in AMP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I
we
sh-
have.
Yeah, I go to the lunch.
Good to see you. All right, thank you. Drive
Thank you,
safe.
Sonia.
See you tomorrow?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Will you be at the
Yeah,
lunch?
we'll see. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my goodness.
Okay, thank you for that again, Sonia. We are on to item number 4, citizens' comment period. We have one person signed up, Mr. Tony Frasco. The mic is on, Tony. Always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm here for 2 reasons tonight. One was to stand up against sour grapes. I'm tired of seeing you people picked on for all the good you do. So my main reason coming tonight was to stand up for you and tell you you're doing a great job, and behind you 100%. And it's Tony Frasco, 8802 Wild Wind Place, last of the Mohegans. And the second reason I came was I would like the Department of Public Works set up that they can handle disasters. fallen trees, brush. If we put it out at the curb, then you should pick it up like they do in Austin, like I did in my home state. It's an emergency situation. Not everybody is set up to take care of their rubbish with high winds and bad weather. And I think the DPW is capable of handling rubbish, tree rubbish put out at the street and relieve the residents. I think this is part of the Homeland Security, civil defense, whatever you want to call it. But I think we should institute this. Austin did it, and Austin got hit hard, but their residents were compensated by not having to worry about getting rid of their debris. So I think we should look into that. And again, I'm here mainly, and that's why I saw my name second, because I wanted to counteract anything Sour Grapes had. But anyway, you're doing a good job. If you need me, I'm here for you. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. All right, that concludes citizens' comments. We're on to item number, we're going to reorder here really quick because it's on the agenda. We can do that so that Ms. Fraser doesn't have to stay here for the entire presentation, or the entire council meeting. So we're going to skip briefly to item number 9, approvals and authorizations. 9A is fiscal year 2022 audit report, period ending September 30th, 2022. And we have Debbie Fraser. So welcome back, Debbie. Thanks for your presentation tonight. And the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. We have a short presentation. Again, my name is Deborah Fraser. I'm a partner at the firm Armstrong Vaughn and Associates, and we were here conducting your audit in November. And I want to thank Christine especially because she and Tina provided us with a ton of information and got us in and out quickly. And we bothered, the rest of the staff as well. So again, they typically throw a party as soon as we leave, and don't invite us. So anyway, if you look at the presentation, and I guess I have the clicker. This is broken down into several sections. It's your introduction, your independent auditor's report, there's a management discussion and analysis. Then you have your government-wide statements, which for the new people, that is a full accrual financial statement, and it has all of your capital assets, all of your debt, any compensated absences or vacation payables you may have. You won't see that in your normal modified accrual funding. Then you have your fund financial statements, which are presented on a modified accrual statement, and that's how you budget. The next are the notes to the financial statements, your required supplementary information, which is very interesting because that has your TMRS information as well as your budget to actuals. And then we have some supplemental comparative financial statements and statistical section, which, again, the statistical section is my favorite because it does give you usually about 10 years of information. So on our independent auditor's report, there's several types of reports, and that usually shows up on page 1. You received an unmodified report, which means that there were no modifications. Your financial statements were fairly stated and materially correct after adjustments. And we had less than 10 adjustments, so that is very, very good. The management discussion is really written from your management's point of view, so again, that's a very interesting area. The government-wide financial statements, which if you look at your actual audit, that shows up on page 12 and 13. I don't expect you to turn, but your assets exceeded your liabilities by $8.9 million at September 30th, 2022. Your net position increased about $812,000. That's mainly due to your increased property tax revenue and a reduction of pension-related expenditures. Your business type activities are your assets of the water fund, and it exceeded your liabilities by 8.2 million. And then you had an unrestricted net position increase of 624,000. Again, these are based on the full accrual statements. The financial highlights of your net position are on the screen. You had close to 11.7 million in your net investment and capital asset. That number represents all your assets less any debt associated with those assets. And then you have restricted money for various items. And then at the end, you'll see your unrestricted or available fund net position of 5.3 million. On your fund financials, this is typically how you see your budget, and those actually begin on page 16. Your general funds fund balance at the end of 2022 was $4.5 million. The combined fund balance for all of your governmental type of funds is $4.8 million. Something that I think is very good, your unassigned fund balance for the general fund was $4.3 million unassigned. That represents 19 months of operating expenditures. The GFOA recommends 4 to 6 at least. Your fund balance for the general fund increased to $701,000. The increase is a result of the general funds lowering some of your expenditures in general administration, public protection, and an increase in sales tax of $152,000. There was also a $78,000 increase in grant funds, grant revenue. The combined fund balance increased by $592,000, and that was due to changes in the general fund balance. And here's where you see a breakdown of your fund balance. And again, the unassigned fund balance is $4.3 million, and that's available for expenditure in the following year, or the current year. The business type activities net increased by about $624,000. And if you want to look at the business type activities in detail, those begin on page 24. The TMRS is kind of an interesting situation. This only shows up on your governmental-wide statements or your full accrual statements. The actual audit and actuarial study is performed by the Texas Municipal Retirement System. They determine based on ages, how long you've lived here, and various other assumptions. But at December 31st, 2021, because it's an annual report, you'll see that your net pension liability was $13,062. It's very low. Additionally, if you turn to the back of the report, page 57, you'll see that your plan was 99.68% covered, so almost 100% covered. You're probably the highest that we highest covered that we audit, besides Kerr County, which is over 100% funded. It's very good. The GFOA recommends anything over 70%, so very, very good. Your TMRS OPEB, this is your supplemental death benefit for retirees who are drawing, and that is at $134,840 liability, and that's one that'll probably just continue to go up over the years. You do have letters on conduct of the audit that we gave you, and we just had one comment. The previous ladies discussed your SIB loan, or your state infrastructure bank loan, and that loan requires you to put $15,000 in it annually until you build up to $45,000. The first year we didn't do that, and so, or you didn't do that, and as of December, that money's been put in, and actually you put the second year in also, so you are caught up, and That was our only comment. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer you. I know there's a couple new council people, and if you'd like to go over the audit in more detail, I'd be happy to do it with any one of you. Any questions?
Debbie, thank you so much. Council, any questions for Debbie? To my left? Outstanding job. So thanks for everything you guys do for us.
Thank you very much.
And we did really well. And I want to publicly thank our city staff, the city council, our department heads, as well as especially Nancy, our city administrator, and Christine, our HR and finance head. So you guys do great work, and we actually make your job actually difficult because it's not easy to find anything. And the one thing that we weren't doing, you found, and thanks for correcting that, and helping us correct that. So great work, and we'll see you in November.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Have a
drive
good day.
safely, please.
And thanks for moving me up.
Okay, council, before we move on, we need to approve that report. So unless there's other discussion you guys want to have, can I get a motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 audit report?
I make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 audit report.
We have a motion to approve. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Okay, that section of 9A is complete. We'll go back to the regular order of the agenda, and that is number 5, the consent agenda. These items may be acted upon in a single motion. No separate discussion or action on these items will be held unless requested by a council member. Public comment on these items may be heard during citizens' participation. However, that does not mean the item will be considered outside the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they want to pull from this month's consent agenda? To my left? To my right? Okay, if nobody has anything to pull, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion to approve. Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second, 5 and 4. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. On to item number 6, staff reports. 6A, city administrator, monthly activity report. Nancy, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. The first thing I want to report on is we received a thank you note for Officer Wang. We received that from Albert and Tanya Haddad. They were thanking him for working with their neighbors and calling them when they had a water leak in one of their faucets. And they said you went beyond the call of duty to notify us, and thank you again. A thank you note was received, the library received a thank you note from the Leatherbees, and they were thanking Linda and all of her wonderful volunteers for hosting the most enjoyable Veterans Day luncheon back in November on Veterans Day. Then there was another thank you to the library from Rose Gail Leatherberry. She wanted to thank Linda for a very enjoyable evening, and she's referring to the anniversary celebration, the library's silver anniversary. She said, "You are such a great librarian, and Garden Ridge is so very lucky to have you." Then also, it's included in your packet, in the guest book that was at the silver anniversary for the library, Linda's made copies and is providing the copies of the comments of all the individuals who left sweet little notes about the library. And just, they're very, very nice. I'm not going to read them all, but at your convenience, please do read them. I think we have an employee anniversary this month. We do. And it is for Officer Chin Wang, 1 year. Great job, officer. Thank you. We had total of 235 volunteer hours. 62 of those were from the Parks Committee, 165 were from the library, and 8 hours were from the Bill Stuffers. And then I just wanted to give you a little update on our recent weather event. I think we fared actually very well during the winter storm that we just experienced this time last week. We did open up a warming center here on Wednesday of last week from about 9 to 5. We did have some visitors. One gentleman spent the entire day here. He was conducting his work activities from here. So we did have individuals attend that. Power issues, we did have some individuals who did lose power in the city. Those power outages were contributed to the ice and the trees. There was had nothing to do with any problems with the grid. We did have storm dumpsters for disposal of the storm debris over the past weekend, and both Saturday and Sunday, and I think they filled up, 4 dumpsters by the end of Saturday. So that was utilized. I think we had a good chain of communication between staff and mayor and Mayor Pro Tem and council. So I think we did very well during this last winter event.
Thank you, Nancy. Council, anything for Nancy? Hopefully we kept you guys in the loop with what was going on better than we've done in the past, and I'm really proud of city staff and our department heads for, as always, rising to the occasion. We had Chief was out there for us 6 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, checking out the roads, and then Wednesday the same thing with the officers that were at the roads, just making sure everything was good to go. And it was really a great job. And Officer Wang, I can't believe it's been a year already.
I know.
Congrats, man. So you're busy, though. It's good stuff. Anything else for Nancy? Thanks, Nancy. That moves us on to item 6B, Finance and HR. Christine, floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I only have one additional thing to add to my report. In January, we advertised to solicit for requests for proposals of bank depository agreements, and we'll be bringing those depository agreements to Council on March 1st. That's really all.
Thank you very much. Council, anything for Christine? Outstanding. Moving on to City Secretary, 6C. Marissa, floor is yours.
Thank you. A couple things that I just wanted to highlight on my report is that there's an upcoming holiday, so City Hall and the library will be closed on Monday, February 20th, and we are still in the filing period for the city's general election. That goes through Friday, February 17th. Once the filing deadline has passed, we will announce the date, time, location for the drawing for a place on ballot and move forward with all of the next steps in an election. And then you'll also notice at the bottom of my report this month, we added a new table. It's called Facebook Insights Summary. We've been looking into try to see if we can gather all the data from all of our social media sites. It's not very easy to do, but Facebook at least helps us and makes it a little easy, so we'll start there. So I put all of the data for 2022. I think in the future we'll probably do 1 month at a time, but it just gives you a little insight into what is going on our Facebook page lately. And that is all I have.
Thanks, Marissa. Great job, Courtney, working on that stuff. So is there an increase, it looks like, from the time that you started working to with Facebook Insights page reach and whatnot, page visit? So I think so, right? Good job. Council, anything for Marissa? Great job. Thank you, both of you. Okay, moving on to 6D, Police Department. Chief, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Most everything is in my monthly report. I wanted to elaborate on a few things. One was the racial profiling report, which we passed through the consent agenda, but just wanted to give a real quick brief. I sent it to you, but the general public doesn't get it. So basically what we had for last year, the racial profile report requires that we document and report every contact that we make, traffic-related wise, whether it be citation or warning. Last year, we did 1,366. So it sounds like a lot at face value. It's not. When you break it down by shifts and people, it comes down to about one contact every 6 hours per officer. And that's including both citations and warnings. It goes on in much more in-depth into sex, race, type of road that we do it on, whether a search was done, whether any contraband was found, whether arrest was made, was the arrest in relation to the citation or separate. So there's the report itself is 9 pages long of all stats and numbers. That can be found for anybody that's interested. Every police department in the state of Texas files a racial profiling report through the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. So anybody that wants to look at a report can go to the TCOLE site, TCOLE, Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, and pull up a racial profiling report for any law enforcement agency in the state. When you look at our numbers, it breaks down at 1,366. When you break it down by race, which is what everybody is really concerned with this day and age with the racial profiling, and you look at the numbers of the race compared to our demographic makeup of this area, it does not reflect any sort of racial bias for traffic citations. And I'll give it real quick. I'm not going to go to all of them. I'll do the race only instead of getting into everything else. We had, basically, it was 3 American Indian natives. We had 43 Asian Pacific Islanders, 127 black, 797 white, 396 Hispanic. So looking at those numbers compared to our demographics and our makeup of the area, understanding that a lot of that is not residents that get stopped, but they're still members of this community in this area that utilize these roads where most of the traffic stops are made. Everything seems to fall in line with where it should be. I can also say that last year I received 0 written racial profiling complaints from anybody in the public. So we didn't have to investigate any of those. So I just wanted to present that to you verbally also so that the people in the community would know what that report entailed. And it is available for anybody that wants it. And moving on a little bit after that, I wanted to expand a little bit on, we have our Citizen Police Academy in progress. We started it, we just finished our 4th class, so we're halfway through. We've got 27 of our local residents and community members in there. It's a good class. Next week, we will be doing the jail tour and dispatch facilities for everybody, so we'll be taking them up there. And other than that, we're moving along. I believe at the last month, I said we were going to bring our DEA agent on. That has been done. On 9th of January, I met with the special agent in charge for San Antonio, and down in San Antonio, he was sworn in. So we now have our officer is working with DEA, and he's in full swing down there doing what he needs to do. So the other two new officers that were hired are in phase 2 of their FTO, going through training. We're switching their shifts around, but things are moving along quite well. And that's about all I really have to report.
Thank you so much, Chief. Counsel, anything for our Chief of Police? Doing great work. Thank you. No? Great job, Chief. Thank you so much. Congrats again, Officer Wang. All right, that moves us on to Stephen, 6E, Public Works Department, Public Works and Utilities. You have the floor, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the month of January, Public Works completed 492 work orders, recorded a ½ an inch of rain up at the shop, performed crack sealing on Sumac Lane, Sumac Circle, Gardenia Bend. We've started putting up privacy fence slates on the back side of the park to kind of create a visual barrier between the playground and dogs. The new Public Works generator was delivered. We have it scheduled to be wired up within the next 2 weeks. We had a meeting on January 20th with all but 2 residents for the Oak Wilt meeting. Mr. Edmondson marked out the trench, or the potential trench that we're going to use. We're still waiting for signatures for all participating residents in the program. I'll give an update on the 3009 project that went through here for Verizon last year. I met with the project manager back in late December, and I've also filed a couple complaints with TxDOT concerning their post-construction progress on it and the lack of how we've had a lot of complaints and all for it. I got back with him early this week, and he said they're going to come out here. They should have the issues addressed by the end of this month.
Great work, Stephen. Thank you.
And we do have one dog ready for adoption. We've had him a little over 2 weeks. He's already been vetted, and he's ready to go. Anybody wants to come up and look at him? He's a little bit shy, but he's a relatively good dog.
Thank you. Kelly? No, that's the dog right there. Thank you so much. Council, anything regarding Public Works for Stephen? All right. Sir, you still have the floor for utilities.
Okay. For January, we pumped 5.27 acre feet out of the Edwards. We have 628.9 acre feet available. Edwards is still in stage 3 currently. City of Garden Ridge is in stage 2 currently. We pumped 55.37 acre feet out of the Trinity. All distribution samples required from TCEQ passed. Our water loss went up to 8.8%. So we're looking to find out what's with that. It could be just that the less you pump, the less accuracy you get. But if you check out back in January 22, it was about 8.1%. So we're kind of following the same pattern with that. Meters read 1,698. Stage 2 restriction alerts for January, 483, up 131 from December. And that's all I have to report for the water utilities portion.
Thank you, Stephen. Council, to my right, anything to add? Any questions? Okay. Todd, Jesse, I'm sure you got some. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Jesse.
First, I want to thank the utility department for cycling the wells during the freeze to be sure that we had water supply and all that. I appreciate all that effort. It was real good. And also thank you for the weekly well usage reports. And we talked earlier about, Steve and I talked earlier about getting updated on the prediction for where it looks like at year end with stage 3. So I'll be working with him on that. And that's all I have. Anyway, thanks for leak adjustments. I know you made some progress on leak adjustments, so thank you for that also.
Thanks, Jesse. Great job, Stephen. Nothing else, council? I don't have any weather updates for, not this month. Nothing's changed, even with the additional rain that we've gotten. We still need a lot more to get anywhere near coming out of stage 2. So, thanks, Stephen. On to 6F, our library monthly activity report. Miss Linda is not feeling well this week, so Patricia Ann, it's good to have you here. You've done a great job of filling some big shoes and keeping the library going with volunteers as well. So the floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. There are a few things I would like to highlight on the report about our upcoming events. We have upcoming Lunch and Learn on the 16th about kitchen gardening one-on-one on vegetables. We have a change to an existing program about Lego robotics at 3:15 and 4:30. We added another class from 4:30 to 5:30. We have two new programs. The first one is Living Life Well on nutrition and weight loss, and we have that one on the 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. And then every fourth Saturday of the month, we have a Gaming Unplugged young adults group from 6 to 8 p.m. The 25th anniversary was well attended, and we had about 100 people who came in support of our library. So thank you for all who attended, including the mayor and council.
Thanks, Patricia Ann. Council, anything else for our library?
That was a great celebration, very well put together, and I learned a lot about our library. It was amazing how everything just came together like it did, so that's awesome.
It is amazing. And thanks for speaking up. It's great. Good to have you here. Anybody else? It's a good picture, Patricia Ann, right? Okay. Thank you so much, and thanks for what you're doing this week especially, and our best to Linda, please. That concludes item number 6. On to item number 7, city engineer project status reports. Sam, it's good to see you as always. Floor is yours, sir.
Good seeing you as well. Good evening. There's just 2 points that I want to kind of highlight on my report. The 2252, I wish I would have slowed down a little bit, knowing that they're not going to build it to 2026. But we got our permit in with TxDOT, and they told me it's a 3-week period to review. We're like a week and a half in, so I'm gonna follow up next week to see where we're at with that. So once we get the permit, we can start going out for bid on that project. The next one is the sewer system. So for the sewer system, I'm just trying to find a more efficient way of giving you sewer service in the area, because I currently have the tank where we got a pumping hall and things of that nature. So I'm trying to figure out, been working with the city administrator to try to figure out what's the best option as far as serving you guys for sewer. So that's what that item is for, just in case you had any questions. That's pretty much it.
You're doing some great behind-the-scenes work, both you and Nancy, with our fellow cities, bordering cities, to help us out with that. So thank you so much. Council, anything for, I'll start to my left. Anything for Sam Johnson?
No, sir, thanks.
Thank you.
Jesse, Todd, Lise, Kelly? No? Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Okay, on to item number 8, City Commission and Committee Reports, Recommendations, Possible Actions. 8A is Planning and Zoning Commission. P&Z did not meet in January, but we do have some action in the next little bit here for P&Z. We'll move on to item number 8B, Water Commission. Chairman Mueller, it's always good to see you, sir. Floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here. We don't have any recommendations for the council this month, but going through our activities, we did talk some about ordinances during the Water Commission meeting, a little bit about Ordinance 54 and water pressures, and Ordinance 61 on drought watering times. We still need some research to do, so we're going to go back and keep working on that, and then hopefully we'll have something to bring you in the next month or two. The one thing I did want to bring up is that we are scheduling an executive session where we're going to go and check out the infrastructure with a focus on security. I think that will happen either March or April. We're working on trying to finalize the date, but we do invite Mayor and the council, if you would like to come along for that. We would love to have you there also. And that's it, sir. If any other questions.
Thanks, Jim. Field trips are always a good thing, right? Council, anything for Water Commission?
No, but I highly recommend Councilman Kelly to attend that tour. It'd be a good chance to look at the water company, so.
Good.
I wasn't going to call him out, but thank you.
We'll get the rookie out on a field trip. That's right. The freshmen have to go. Yeah, you're going to the Super Bowl, right? Crazy. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
And our next meeting will be on February 21st at 6 p.m. right here.
Outstanding. Okay, item number 8C, Charter Commission. We have Chairperson Nadine Knaus to give us a presentation. And to give the background on this again, this is our home rule charter. And we, as a elected body and the governing body of the city of Garden Ridge approved this measure. You guys approved this measure to proceed with the home rule charter last fall. Some updates with that and highlights. I think we did that in September with the approval, and we started working right away on coming up with a home rule charter commission. We asked 9 residents of the city of Garden Ridge to be on that commission. They said yes and volunteered to put their time and efforts into this. Nadine was elected as the chairperson for that, with Sean Willis as the vice, and we were so thankful that you volunteered to do that and were elected as such, especially as a former city volunteer, P&Z, and councilwoman and mayor. So you were the perfect person to chair that up. In 4 meetings, kind of 4.5, we did what some cities take 2 years to accomplish, and they're coming up with a constitution, a charter for to present to our residents to vote whether or not they want to become a home rule city. And again, we're general law type A right now. We've crossed the threshold to become a general law city with occupants over 5,000, and they did great work. And so kudos to the commission and what you guys did in such a little time. Yeah, you were all extremely efficient, and that's in no small part because of your work and how you run things. So thanks for what you did for us, Nadine. And this presentation, council, is it's for all of us, all of you, for all of our residents. All of this will be posted on the website. We have a long way to go once you vote for a special election, approve a motion for a special election, actually approve the ordinance for this, which calls for a special election. And that special election would be on during our general election, May 6th of this year, Saturday, May 6th, to give our voting registered voters the opportunity to approve this or not. So what we are doing tonight is listening to Nadine's presentation for us for education, and then we'll talk about what we need to do for action right after that. So Nadine, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, the mayor's covered some of this already. The Charter Commission was set up to draft a home rule charter back in the fall. These are the committee members that were served, and as the mayor mentioned, I was selected as chair and Sean was vice chair. While the commission did not actually develop any underlying principles going into them, it became very apparent as we went through the discussions that there were certain things that were going through the commissioner's mind as they thought about drafting this constitution for the city. And I think the most important thing that the citizens need to understand is that when it comes to local control over the governance and how we run the city, that as a general law type A city, we can only do what the state legislature says we can do, which really ties our hands in a number of different ways. By moving to home rule, we can do those things, everything that the state does not prohibit. So it gives us much greater flexibility. So what became apparent very quickly was that the commission wanted to maximize local control over the way that the city is run. They wanted to minimize changes. What came up very early, the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, came about, and that was really, I think, an underlying principle to everything that you'll see in the charter tonight. And also they wanted to create new opportunities for our citizens to control the way that their city runs and is operated. Major provisions, I'm going to go through each of the chapters very, very quickly. They are selecting a council manager form of government. This is very close to what we currently have, the way we currently operate with our city administrator. This is a very typical form of government. Again, no changes basically to the way we currently run. Also, we will assume all the powers and rights that are granted to home rule cities as they exist today and any that would exist in the future. Council composition, exactly the same as what we have now. 5 council members and a mayor. The council members would be selected at large but by place, and the mayor would be selected at large. There would be 2-year rotating terms. A vacancy on the council would be done exactly the same way as it is now if we have a vacancy midterm, where if there's one vacancy, the council can vote to fill it, or you can call a special election. If there's more than one vacancy at a time, then we would have to call a special election. Again, no change. The mayor and the mayor pro tem, exactly as we have right now, where the mayor participates in the discussion but only votes in the event of a tie. This is very important when we come to a little bit farther on here. Meetings and quorum, exactly the same as now. Major ordinance, when you pass an ordinance, there are some administrative changes, nothing that the citizens would normally see. It's basically what Marissa and Nancy would be seeing. If the one thing that I think is an important adder in here is that under this charter, if the mayor disagrees with an ordinance been passed, remember, he does not or she does not vote in approving the legislation or the ordinances. If an ordinance is passed by council, but the mayor disagrees, within 5 days, he can submit a letter to the city council basically saying, I'd really like you to reconsider this, and then be put on the next agenda for council reconsideration. So this is a good way of checks and balances. You'll see a lot of that in the charter as well. The other thing that is new is the formal process of investigation into the operation of the city. Right now, it's very informal. If a council member or a mayor has a concern about how a city department is run, that can be done very informally, working with the city administrator. Going forward, that process can still be done, but there's also now an actual investigative process where you can do subpoenas and so forth. This is a check and balance process on the office of city manager. Very important in this kind of form of government. And the other is the city council and the mayor can only deal with employees of the city by working through the city manager. This is very much in line with what our ordinance on ethics relates to. This is how we run right now, so there's no change here. We established the charter establishes the office of city manager. Again, it's very similar to the way we run the office of city administrator. They are responsible for administering the duties of the city. So city council makes the legislation, they make the rules, the city manager executes those rules. In this charter also, the city council approves the appointment of the city manager, and the city council can remove the city manager at any time. The charter also establishes a municipal court and a city attorney's office. The other departments within the city would be created, and if you needed to create a new one, would be done exactly the way it is now, where the city manager would come to the city council, recommend that a department be added, merged, subtracted, whatever, and then the council would vote on that change to the departmental structure of the city. But employees would be hired and fired by the city manager. Nominations and elections would be done exactly like we have right now, same as current, in accordance with state law. The person that gets the most votes wins the election, and that you would assume the office of council upon the canvassing of the votes and upon taking the oath of office. Again, this is exactly what we do right now, but it just simply puts it in our charter for record-keeping purposes. Now, let's get to the new things that were added. These are provisions that we, as a general law city right now, our citizens do not have these rights. The first right is the right of recall, that any elected city official can be subject to recall and removal on the grounds of incompetency, misconduct, and malfeasance in office. It requires that a petition signed by 25% of the citizens who voted in the last election bring forth a petition to the city. The city secretary would then go through the signatures and go through the form and the legality of the petition to make sure that everything was correct. They would then forward the petition to the city council, as well as notifying the elected official that they have been subjected to a recall petition. If the city official does not resign, the city council would then set a date for a election, which would be a recall election for that city official. At that time, that city official also has the right and opportunity to say, I want a public hearing where I can state my case to the citizens of Garden Ridge. Once it goes to an election, it is a simple up and down vote to recall or not the elected official. Now, no elected official can be recalled within the first 6 months of their term or the last 6 months of their term. That's the only stipulation that we have here. So again, this is an opportunity for the citizens of Garden Ridge to exercise greater local control over their governance than what they have right now. The next is initiative. This is where a citizen wants to initiate legislation. Right now, if a citizen wants a particular ordinance passed or whatever, they can go to a specific council member or the mayor requesting that the council member or the mayor bring it forth for a vote of the full council. But there is no legal obligation on the part of the council or the mayor to bring that forward. This would change that. This would give the citizens the direct right, after 20% of registered voters sign a petition to say, I want this ordinance on this issue passed. That would then go through the same review process with the city administrator as under the recall process. Once that has been approved, it goes to city council. If city council then deliberates and says, yes, we agree this ordinance ought to be passed, the ordinance would fall into the normal process of approval. If, however, the city council did not want that ordinance approved, they would then have to call an election where the citizens would dictate whether or not that ordinance would be approved or not. So again, it would be a simple up and down vote. Another way that the citizens can exercise control over the way the city is run. The last one is a referendum, and this is in the case of the city council passes an ordinance and the citizens don't like it. Within 60 days after the passage of that ordinance, they can again submit a petition that would go through the same review process as we've previously discussed. Would go to city council at that point. The city council can basically cancel the original ordinance and the citizens are happy. Or the council can say, nope, we believe that ordinance should go ahead as written. They would have to, the city council would then call the election. And the important thing about this is that any provisions, enforcement provisions of the ordinance that the council had originally passed, any provisions of that would not be operative until the citizens of the city voted on it. So these are three new features that enhance the citizens' control over local government in this home rule charter. Then the final is that there's some standard legal provisions and wording and so forth. The one thing here that's important is there's now a disaster clause. There has been no real clear guidelines that if all of y'all were at an event and something happened and most of you were no longer able to perform your jobs as council people, there was no discussion about how the city would continue until in such time as we could have an election and run the city. This now has a disaster clause in it, which I think is very important in these days and times. I want to say that not only does the commission and the council, but the citizens of Garden Ridge owe a huge debt of gratitude to Charlie Zach of Denton, Navarro, Rocha, Bernal, and Zach. He provided the commission with all documents related to developing home rule charters, what's included in them. He also went through it line by line to talk to us about the legal implications of this choice or that choice of things that we would have in the charter. So I think we all owe him a great debt of gratitude for his hard work, again, taking the commission through line by line, paragraph by paragraph. The Charter Commission, I know y'all have thanked me, but I hope you will all take the time to thank each of these members individually. I have worked with governmental boards, commissions, city councils, etc., for the greater part of 40 years of my life. And I have to say that in the 40 years I've worked with governmental entities like this has got to be the finest group that I have ever had the honor of working with. So please thank each of these individuals for me. And then the last one that the citizens need to thank, as well as the other council members, is the mayor, the city administrator, and the city secretary. They were at every meeting, explaining to us very carefully how the city currently works, how it runs in reality. Then they would work us through what a change to one clause or another would mean to them from administering the process. So they put a lot of hours and a lot of thought and a lot of hard work in it. So I hope that you'll thank them. So that concludes my presentation. Again, you'll have the charter in front of you to read. I hope that you will move forward on this. We worked very, very hard on it, and we're very proud of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Nadine, very much. Council, before we move forward, do you have any specific questions for Nadine as our chairperson? No?
I do.
Todd, go ahead.
What drove the, say, the 20% for the recall? Or, you know, I mean, if you're trying to get to that bar of 25% or
25. We wanted to-
20% of registered voters, that seems to be a pretty high bar, in my opinion, because we don't get 25% of the registered voters in the city of Garden Ridge to come out and vote on any election other than presidential.
Well, it's 25% of the registered voters in the last election. We talked a great deal about that. We wanted
Okay.
to make the threshold high enough that you wouldn't have these nuisance recalls. We've seen that occur in other cities. But we wanted to make it low enough that if there was malfeasance or misconduct, that the citizens could bring forth a charge for a recall. And I think the same thing on the initiative referendum. We wanted to make it high enough so that we could tell that, yes, it was really something that the citizens were very serious enough, but not so low as become just a frivolous election. Because elections are extremely expensive. They're $10,000 a pop, pretty much. When we put one of those on, they're very expensive. So we wanted to make sure that we tried to make that balance. But yeah, that was a big point of discussion at the commission level.
I bet it was. And that's kind of the answer I was expecting, because had the number been really low, I'd have gone, oh, wait a minute, we can't let the city get taken over by, as you are well aware, but, 3 or 4 people get a burr under their saddle about something and they basically take over everything that's going on. So that 20% or 25% number, I think, is perfect.
Thanks, Todd. Okay, what we need to do now is have a motion to approve the ordinance, the ordinance itself calls for a special election. So, Marissa, to clarify, the motion would need to say a motion to approve ordinance 23602-2023, and then just read what part?
Read what is on your screen, not what is on the agenda. The wording is just very minor change in it. So we made it easier for you, and it's on your screen to where you can just read the caption of the ordinance.
So read the top portion that's in bold on the screen.
Correct.
So that we have this perfect.
Yes.
Okay. So before we do this, council, do you have any other further questions for myself, Nancy, or Marissa regarding this process?
I do have one question. So if we were going to draft an ordinance, and so let's say there's an ordinance we want to bring about, and we now have to get the 20% if it's something that we come up with as a council? Okay.
No.
Okay, I just want to clarify that.
No. So the way we do business right now doesn't change. What you're talking about, initiative, gives the residents, the citizens, registered voters with 20%, they can actually call for something
Okay.
to be legislated.
Okay.
Doesn't mean you need to vote for it.
Okay, I just want to make sure it didn't affect that. Okay.
That's a good question. Anything else? Okay, so if there's no other discussion, can I get a motion to approve ordinance 23602-2023 as written on the screen in bold?
I move to approve ordinance number 236-02023, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, ordering a special election on May 6th, 2023, for the purpose of determining if home rule status should be granted to the City of Garden Ridge, making provisions for the conduct of such elections, and resolving other matters related to the conduct of such election.
We have a motion to approve. Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Do I have any further discussion? I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion to approve ordinance 23602-2023 is approved unanimously. Thank you, council. Great work to our Home Rule Charter Commission, and Nadine, fantastic work. Where do we go from here? So we've approved the ordinance, which calls for the special election. That will be May 6th, the same day as our general election, and this will be part of the early election voting process as well. before we vote, sometime in March, we will send out, and Nancy jump in, or Marissa jump in if I get the dates wrong, but sometime in March, we will send out to every registered voter in the city a draft or the ordinance itself that's written, so the home rule charter, the constitution for the city of Garden Ridge proposed, will go to every resident, registered voter. That'll be prefaced with a letter from me explaining the process and how we got here, as well as the highlights from Nadine's brief, and then also how we can find this on our city website and whatnot as residents and registered voters, so that's all done. The other thing we're going to do is have a town hall meeting sometime in April. We think that could be Tuesday, April 11th. It's nothing official yet. That will be hosted by yours truly, as well as the Home Rule Charter Commission will be up here, so they can help answer questions, spears, and whatnot for town hall. That'll be held here in council chambers so that we can record it and stream it. We can't do that currently in the community center, so otherwise we do it over there. So, but it'll be here sometime in April, and then well before we start early voting. So that's how the process goes. Any questions or anything else to add, Marissa, that I missed? Okay. Nancy? Cynthia? No? We're good? Council, any other questions for me? This is a good thing.
Not questions,
Okay.
comments, if I
Yeah,
may?
please.
I want to reiterate that I think that Nadine just exemplified how efficiently and proficiently and professionally a commission can get something done in a timely manner. I mean, this is a critical issue for the city, and I think in some cases that hasn't happened in the past. I'm really very proud of the work. I was able to attend most of the meetings. I also think that when we do have a town hall, it's important we think about what you might call kitchen table questions that are a little more relevant to, like people would need to know that right now the state can dictate, I'm paraphrasing, but they can dictate the color of our homes if you're not in an HOA or building construction materials and things like this. These are things that maybe would be a little more relevant to some individuals. Just things like that. We might want to anticipate that type of question as well, for those who might wonder why change.
Thank you, Kay. I agree. Those are great comments. And again, Nadine, you guys did an incredible job, but there was a lot of, and we did it very efficiently, but there was a lot of hard questions and good discussion and a lot of time spent at the podium firing away at the mayor. So, and we came up with a good product. You guys did. Way to go. Awesome, thanks. Okay, good. I'm assuming that will be your monthly update as well as item number 2 for you. So we are good to go. We'll move on to 8D, Parks Committee. Mr. Chamberlain. Floor is yours, sir. We lost all the boys. Nope, we still have some scouts back there. Great. Good job, guys.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Appreciate the opportunity. Our last general membership meeting was held earlier today, February the 8th, and our next general meeting will be held on Wednesday, March the 8th at 9:30 in the Blue Bonnet Room up at the Community Center. I'm a quiet-spoken guy, you know. Over the last 30 days, our primary focus has been on developing goals and key objectives and prioritization for 2023. We held a brainstorming session with the city administrator and director of public works to make sure that there's collaboration and total transparency between both of us. And also went ahead and reserved the required dates for the facilities at the community center and also at Paul Davis Park for the 4th of July and Christmas tree lighting. And updated our tasks for the 5 parks that come into play. Our focus over the next 30 days will be continued planning and scheduling for the 2023 4th of July celebration. It is coming quickly. A review of the proposed draft changes for ordinance number 24 with city administrator, and also work on a spring cleanup at Park Davis, and initiate the Parks Committee budgetary process for the next budget year coming up, starting to take in suggestions or recommendations for special funded projects, so we can present that back to the city. With regards to volunteers, we are currently looking for a master of ceremony for our events. Not that the current one that we've had has done a fantastic job, because he has, but also someone that can do web design review for us and make suggestions, someone who can write and do editorial stuff from that area, and a photographer to come into place. So it's not just about working in the parks, it's also to do some things to support the Parks Committee and the city as well that comes in. And if you have any suggestions or comments for the parks, please reach out either to any of the 3 tri-chairs, Linda Potts, Dr. Jim Miller, or myself, Rod Chamberlain, or you can email us at gardenridgeparks@gmail.com. Mr. Mayor, it's yours.
Thank you, Rod. As always, council, anything for Parks Committee? Master of Ceremonies, Kelly, MC? Thanks, Rod. Appreciate the
So
update.
Kelly is down for MC.
Yep, there you go. Good to go. Good job. Yay. Thanks, Rod. Okay, moving on to item number 9B, since we already covered 9A with the audit report. 9B, ordinance number 210-2022, ordinance of the City Council of Garden Ridge, Texas, regarding all of our commission policies and procedures. This is one of our changes that we made, and we appointed some commissioners last month. And this month, we'd like to appoint a new commissioner for the Planning and Zoning Commission. We conducted interviews from November through January. It was myself, Nancy, as our administrator, and Karen Diaz as the chairperson of Planning and Zoning Commission. And Mr. Joe Maloney, can you come forward? You've been here the whole time. You gotta be able to come up here and turn on the mic. That's right. He's here last Wednesday for, that's right. It's all good. Sorry about that. And council, this is Mr. Joe Maloney. He is Don. I've known you as Joe, right?
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So Donald Joe Maloney. So I know it says Don. So, but no. Well, that's why he's up here, so you can get to know him and ask questions. So thank you for volunteering. Thank you for interviewing. And Joe is Donald Joe Maloney is our selection from the interview committee. So council, do you have any questions, introductions? Welcome. We got you.
Just welcome. Thank you for volunteering.
And to make it easy for you all, Joe is just fine.
Sorry about the confusion.
Just
Joe.
Hi, haven't seen you in a while. Glad to have
Good
you
to
on
see you.
board. Yeah, good to see you.
Likewise.
Awesome. To my left, Kay, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Kay Bauer, also known as Kay Bauer. I wanted to prove to you that I read your bio. But thank you, Joe, for joining.
Absolutely. Just going to be happy to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission, so looking forward to it.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate that. So if there's no questions.
I have one comment.
Oh,
One question for
Jesse
Joe.
has a comment for.
Yeah, Joe, you went through both processes, the old process for interviewing and the new process. Do you have any comments on that? To see if the change of orders was.
Well, it was, I think the old process left a lot to be desired, and the new process was much more relaxed as far as, meeting with the mayor and the other folks, Nancy that was on there as well. And I just felt that it went a lot smoother than the first time. I'll leave it at that.
Outstanding. We'd have Karen up here, but she's still recovering. So unless you want to come up, Karen, are you good? You're good. All right. Okay. Joe, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Now that introductions have been made, can I get a motion to approve Donald Joe Maloney to the Planning and Zoning Commission?
I move to approve Donald Joe Maloney to the Planning and Zoning Commission, please.
We have a motion to approve. Can we have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion of Donald Joe Maloney? I'll call it to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Welcome, Joe. Thank you. That's good. All right, moving on to 9C, 2023 Texas Legislative Session, the 88th session. It is in session. We've had success in our communication outreach with our elected officials for the city of Garden Ridge. On the 24th, was that Monday, the 24th of January? In January, a couple weeks ago, we had a meeting. Myself, Lisa, as the pro tem, and Nancy went up to Senator Donna Campbell's office, and we met with Joyce Yanuzzi, who was here for a full hour and 20 minutes watching and listening to what's going on in Garden Ridge. That was awesome. And as well as Sonia Weber, we'll say, and she is the direct representative for us to do activities and schedule meetings and whatnot. We have also reached out to our newly elected representative for the State House, Carrie Isaac. I have had contact with her chief of staff and her director of operations and scheduling, and they are looking forward to meeting with us as well. And we'll come to not only do a presentation to council at some point when they're probably a little bit less busy, but also come to Northeast Partnership to at least be introduced, if not give a brief presentation. So those are good things. Another good thing is through this reach out to our elected officials and their staffs, we have scheduled a day to go to Austin to see the process in work and meet with Senator Donna Campbell, as well as Carrie Isaac, our representative. And that is the 29th of March this year, and we will arrive there at 11 a.m. This is going to be in conjunction with Northeast Partnership, so it will be at least 2 buses going up there. I'm going to volunteer my services to Northeast Partnership tomorrow at the luncheon to head this visit up so that we have plenty of representation, I'll put it that way, plenty of seats on the bus. So, and that's a good thing. And if this will be successful, and if we want to do this again, now we know the process and the end, and we'll make it happen even during this continuation of the 88th legislative session. So hopefully everybody is available or can arrange to be available that day. It's the last Wednesday of March, and more to follow on that. So that's all I've got for updates as far as that goes. But they're listening, which is good. Kelly, you have anything to add? I hope so. I hope you're going. Freshmen, all freshmen, that's a field trip. All freshmen have to go on field trips. Okay. Lise?
I love field trips.
Okay, good. Jess? Good. Todd? Yes.
Yes.
You have a whole month. Yeah.
Not just yes, but yes.
Okay,
If
good.
there's dead bodies involved, I'll make it.
Okay. I don't know why he said that, but Todd's still going to go. Yeah, he wants to go.
Yeah, Lisa can bring snacks.
Okay. And then city staff and whoever wants to go. I want to open it up to whoever wants to go while we still keep the city running. So anything else to add? Nancy, stuff I missed? Lisa? Marissa? Good to go? Okay. Courtney, any questions? Communications director? Okay. Specialist? Okay, good. All right, moving on to item number 10, updates, city council projects. One is mitigation of growth and encroachment impacts on Garden Ridge. Lisa?
Well, the discussion about the Texas legislative session was fun. This discussion is not going to be as fun. I received a heads up from a citizen earlier this week about a new development that Comal County had approved. They approved a economic agreement for a battery storage facility on Marbach, which is about a half a mile away from the back end of Wildwind. So once again, we feel like we've become, our backyard is a dumping ground for toxic things, for industrial waste, for undesirable things. Yeah, right. So, I'm trying to get a little more information. These battery storage facilities are sort of a new thing for us. The idea is that they store energy to supplement our utility providers. There is a fire hazard risk. There is a chemical release, off-gassing risk. The risks are small, but they're still there. And again, in talking with the mayor about it and Nancy and Marissa, we are so frustrated with the lack of communication from our county commissioner. I mean, we have been to him. We have asked, can you give us a heads up? Sometimes we know it's nothing we can do about it. If, all of the commissioners are going to vote to approve something, not a whole lot we can do about that, but we don't feel properly represented or considered when these things happen. I mean, we have been to the commissioner and we have asked for updates on these kinds of things, and we've gone back again and asked for updates. We have talked to him about the priorities for Garden Ridge and what we're trying to do here and what we're trying to, the environment that we're trying to keep for the city of Garden Ridge. So that is a huge disappointment. Building, I don't think will start until next December. I guess the next plan of action is to reach out. There's nothing we can do about it. I'm not even sure how these things are permitted. They go through public utility permitting, which is different than some of the other permitting we look at when we're talking about industrial facilities. I think as a council and as citizens, we need to reach out to Commissioner Hogg and say, we want to be heard. We want a heads up. We want information. We want to be able to give you some input. It's hugely disappointing.
Yes,
Yes.
very much so. Anybody have comments with that or want to talk?
I think we need to have him come down here and meet with us. If he doesn't want to communicate, then we need to call him in, and I'll say it, call him in on the carpet. That's a number of things that we've been blown off about that concern us about this city. I like Scott as an individual, but if he isn't going to communicate with us, he needs to come down here. Maybe bring the judge with him.
He was elected to represent us, and we have certainly made it clear through the years what's important to the city of Garden Ridge.
So here's what I'll do as the mayor. We talked about this in the meeting earlier today with myself, Marissa, Nancy, and Lisa. I will again reach out to Judge Sherman Krause, who's a really good guy, and he has said, Rob, get on my calendar, let's meet. I will follow through with that to make sure that we go up and talk about that stuff. Again, talk about communication. So is there something that we could have been involved with this battery storage facility of 400 megawatts worth of power? An hour? So I doubt it. However, it's in our backyard. And you have, in order to get there, the easiest way is on 2252 through the city of Garden Ridge. So a heads up is all we're asking for. So one of the things, council, to let you guys know that we are working with within the city is to have a little bit more situational awareness, consistent awareness of what's going on the county commissioner's court for their agendas, watching their meetings, and being able to come to you with updates on things that would affect us that require your involvement. So we're going to do a better job with that as a city, and we're working on that. And that falls on me, 100%. So we're going to continue our outreach so that our residents are better represented by our elected officials above this governing body. Lisa, anything else to add on that? Okay. Moving on to the Great Springs Project. Let's hear about that. Jesse and Lisa.
Again, we're back to good news. Great Springs Project, we worked with them on submitting a grant application to the Texas Parks and Wildlife Division for a trail in Paul Davis Park. Came in at about 250. The city is a 20% match. The overall grant looked really great. We're super excited about it. Had some great support from Great Springs, and we should know in May whether we've received the grant or not.
Jesse?
That was great work. Lisa put most of the grant together with work with David, so I appreciate all the work she did on that. We had great support from, I think we had about 5 or 6 HOAs, got letters from the Parks Committee, the Lions Club, the schools had support for that, so it was great to hear, get
I
that
think
support.
it was it 13 letters of support that we submitted along with the
Yeah, I
application?
think so, yeah. Yeah, something like that, yeah. And pictures of activities. I grabbed pictures from, for scouts, Eagle Scout project, so I think we had a good package to go together this time, so.
It's fantastic. It's great work. I know we had comments from a number of residents about it. Some are in the audience tonight. So we will continue to give as much information through this forum as we can to make sure we keep everybody in the know. Do we want to talk about the survey that they can take?
Well, I was going to put that under Comal County, but I guess we can, since Great Springs Project is a supporter.
Let's talk about it right now.
Okay, we'll talk about it right now. Comal County has hired a consultant to put together a parks master plan. And they have held, tonight would be the third kind of open house that they've held for the communities to come out and visit with the consultants. Jesse and I and Nancy and some of our Parks Committee members went to the one at Davenport last night. And basically they had a lot of poster boards laid out with a lot of demographic information and a lot of questions about what people's priorities were in the community, whether it was open spaces or parks or athletic facilities, these kinds of things. And some good ideas. I will tell you, again, in the disappointing category, that our commissioner has said, although he likes open spaces and parks, he has no interest in the county funding any of this kind of thing. His focus is more on jails and police and hospitals and facilities, although the Texas Government Code, as it relates to county commissioners, absolutely allows for participation in preserving land, buying land, working on conservation easements, park facilities, open spaces, trails, all of those things. So there is a survey that citizens and council members, all of us can take to submit to the consultants, talking about, our wishes and desires and our, priorities. There's a QR code. I will have Courtney put it out on the city website and Facebook, and I'll send it around to some Facebook pages as well. I think we need as many people to chime in to say, hey, listen, we're happy. We understand that you've tax incentivized, another toxic facility in our backyard. We'd also like you to listen to us when we say that we want open spaces and that we want to preserve, the natural beauty that's all around us and all in our county. So any help on that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, so just want to cover something else? Yeah. Okay, so, we've been talking about a pedestrian bicycle walkway to Garden Ridge Elementary, across the path, across 3009, sidewalk and all that. And so it's under the Transportation Alternatives, package. So we went ahead and submitted a pre-authorization application, I guess, pre-application to TxDOT that was due 27th. That's only a preliminary application, so we didn't think, so we proceeded with it without consent, but, we should know in 2 months whether we get through that part. And then the final application will be due sometime in either May or June. So we'll have some time, but in the meantime, I think I would like to get consensus for us to proceed with that if we do get the preliminary. And if we don't get that, then we can go to the MPO and ask for their grant. So we have two, they give us two options. So we first try with TxDOT, if that fails, we go with the MPO option. So we got that set up as well.
We do have that set up. That's
Huh?
good. We
Yeah.
got that set up. That's good.
Yeah. So,
Sonia's
yeah, we
still
have
here.
Yeah, that's why, I think that's why the MPO was set up afterwards, so if one fails, you get one more chance, so.
Is that something you need consensus on
I'd like to go ahead
tonight?
and consider, assuming that we get preliminary approval, we can consider, we have 2 months to do it, but, I think we're going to do it now, so I brought it up, I think, instead of bringing it up later.
I'm pretty sure that we can give a head nod and thumbs up across the board.
Well, I think it's always important to mention that there's a match.
Yeah, there's a 20% match also. I think our current estimate is around 500,000, close to it underneath. And that's just a high ball,
Yeah,
we're not.
I think it was less. I think it was
Yeah.
200. Well, I don't remember.
Yeah.
We come in at $1 million? I don't know.
No, it was, I think it was only, well, the project was 500, so 20% is 100,000. Right? Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
I thought this one was a minimum. Wasn't this one the one that was a minimum
No.
of $1 million?
No, not this one.
There was another alternative program that we could.
Yeah, there was
I'm
another-
getting all of our opportunities mixed up. There's so
Yeah,
many
right.
good ones.
Yeah.
Okay, what specifically do you need consensus on tonight?
Well, we can do that, or we can wait till April to decide, because once we get when we get to the preliminary, maybe we'll just wait for April, because we'll know by March 27th.
Let's wait till April so that we got a little bit more,
Well, we'll have more information by
yeah.
then. And
Let's
we'll
do
know-
that.
Okay.
Perfect. Anything else?
No.
Okay, that's a lot of information. That's great work. Thanks for going out and doing the research, being out there with Great Springs this fall, and everything else that you guys are doing. So, good job. Moving on to Economic Development Council Liaison, the Tri-County Chamber of Commerce. We got Kay and Kelly. Updates? Kelly, you got
All
your
right,
mic on?
More good stuff on the EDC front. Got a big meeting set up next week with I wouldn't say a developer, but this guy's put together a lot of awesome, like high-end, upper scale bar and grills. And he's meeting with a property owner on 2252, and so I'll be involved in that meeting, and I'll send you the exact time. We're still trying to decide on a time, but I think one has one idea of something he's building, and they want to build something that complements each other, that brings more people, that's family and dog friendly. So that's exciting. So I've been trying to get that one set up for a while. Chamber board, with our sponsorship, our city sponsorship, I used to be on that board a long time ago. When I was chair, we rolled out the city sponsorship program, and part of that is what we wanted. We wanted representation from each city, so we wanted to have at least one board member represented from each city. And Garden Ridge we used to have one a few years ago. In looking at the board, I realized we didn't have any. And so reached out to Mindy, and we now have, they're not in Garden Ridge proper per se, but they are in the Garden Ridge area. So we've got Chris Jimenez now with RHR, who's on the board, and I just forgot the second one. I'll come back to that one. I forgot the second one. I'm sorry, Misty with Veterinary. So, and we know how involved Veterinary has been in our town. So, and we appreciate everything that she does. So we have two people that are very pro Garden Ridge that are on that board now. So, and then I'll give chamber updates and events on the next part.
Awesome, Kelly. Thank you. Kay, anything to add on that?
Excuse me, we continue to have the monthly luncheons. None of us were able to go to the last mixer, but they've also instituted something new. I think they copied our library. It's a lunch and learn, and it's a leadership thing. It's February 28th. Obviously, it's their first one, so I don't really have more input on it than that. But it's just, Kelly has already done so much networking personally and so on, but this is all a networking opportunity. Made some contacts with some people that are interested in possibly working with us on some projects. Nothing concrete right now, but just contacts.
Thanks. That's how it starts. That's how it gets completed and put across the goal line. So great work, both of you. Keep it going.
We need one person to spearhead this, and I think everybody will follow. And that's what we're trying to do, just get that one and get what we really would like to have down 2252, so.
I agree. We, myself and Nancy met with Jeff Pruitt and John from First United Bank yesterday, talking about, it's something that we, the last meeting we had was Nancy, myself, and Lisa over at the bank in Schertz. And this was just a reiteration, just meeting again with them to talk about what they're hearing as far as construction loans around the area. And they said exactly what you just said, Kelly, that everyone's kind of waiting for that first project to go in to see how it does, and then it's going to go from there. So we got one shot at this. We don't own the property as a city, but we can influence it as best we can through outreach and networking and our ordinance 13 for planning and zoning. So we're working on it, and I agree.
One chance to do it right. That's
We
it.
got one chance to do it right, to help our developers and help our property owners do it right for the city of Garden Ridge. So, anything else on that one? Great. Jesse, anything to add for AAMPO?
Well, the only thing I want to add is thank Sonia for hosting me 2 or 3 weeks ago. Got a tour of the offices there, and she gave me the long version of that presentation she made earlier, so I appreciate her time for that. And so the TAC meeting for February was canceled. The next meeting is on March 3rd, so.
Thanks for what you're doing on that. And Sonia, thanks for still being here and seeing what's going on in Garden Ridge. We greatly appreciate it. On to item number 5 for Council Liaison to Water Company and Utilities Department. Jesse, anything else to add there?
Yeah. In January, I participated in a water infrastructure funding webinar hosted by Congressman Henry Cuero's office. They cover several grant programs discussed, but mainly it's for communities with average income of less than $55,000. So that probably mostly leaves us out. But anyway, also I'll be working with Nancy and city staff on updating Ordinance 54. We talked about that, and that's it.
Thank you very much. Todd, what do you have to, we have some stuff to add for this month for Comal ISD.
We got all kinds of stuff. Our breakfast that we had with Dr. Chapman. The mayor and I had breakfast with Dr. Chapman here. I don't remember what day that was. 2 weeks ago. That's right. Nice breakfast. Nice to get to know you. He seems to be very, very capable. He wants to stay engaged with us. Was kind of the takeaway I took from that breakfast. So hopefully we can set up a regular once a month, once every 2 months, something like that, where we get together and just sit and chat with the new school superintendent. Other things with Comal ISD, 15th of February, they're going to call a bond. I don't know what all's on it, but I got some intel. And a lot of it's going to, well, a portion of it is going to be money to, as I like to put it, finish Davenport High School. Contrary to popular belief, that school is not done. It's only 2/3 done. It was planned to be done in 2 phases. We're missing a lot of facilities that the other high schools in the district have because we rushed this school to get it done to relieve Canyon High School that was massively overpopulated. So this should be the bond that we need to push. I could say that until they approve the package, and then I can't say it anymore. That gets us to finish our local high school, because it's not done. And case in point that goes with that, guess what's moving from Garden Ridge Elementary School to the high school? The portables, because Davenport's not done. They don't have enough classroom space.
We have great representation with David Krasinski on the school board. So, and Todd and I talked with him at First Friday and just got an update, and it's great work. I know members of this governing body up here wrote emails to our board members. So thank you to everybody that did that, specifically Lisa and anybody else that did. And that feedback from David Krasinski is that helped. Those emails helped. So that's great work. I'm sure we will hear from Dr. Chapman when the bond measure goes forward, and he'll come here at a council meeting, probably in April. It'll be a busy meeting to discuss it with us and to tell us what all is involved. So, and we got to keep those breakfasts going. Yeah, thanks for making it. It's awesome. We'll make it. Okay, great work. Thanks, Todd. That takes us to 10A7, city welcome signage. Kay, I don't have any updates this month. Do you have any updates?
No, I've messaged back and forth with, have a messaging thing going, let's put it that way, with a potential artist. We're not able to connect yet, but, so as far as that goes, beyond the gentleman that we've spoken to in the past. So those are the two primary sources right now.
Okay, thanks. Keep that going. All right, that concludes item number 10. On to item number 11, discussion of future agenda items. Before I say something, I'll go to my left. Anybody have something you want to see on the agenda for next month that's not already there? To my right? Okay, I would like to add aggregate mining operations outside but adjacent to the city of Gardner Ridge. All right. And that takes us to item number 12, citizen comment period. Everybody gets 2 minutes. You don't have to have signed up to speak, but if you'd like to come forward and speak, please state your name and your address, and the floor will be yours. Dr. Miller. Welcome, sir. It's always good to see you. The floor is yours.
Dr. Jim Miller, 9910 Marie Meadow. I'm come up here because my co-chair on the Parks Committee is too nice. Okay, he comes up every month, but he's very nice, and it's not by intent. That's just the way he is. We had a meeting. The Parks Committee, co-chairs myself, Linda Potts, and Rod, with Ms. Kane and Stephen, because we had some concerns. As a group, we felt left out and disrespected, to be truthful with you. And tonight's a good time to talk about it because the scouts are here, and we're talking about communication. And basically, it turned out within 5 minutes of that meeting, we found out what the problem was. It was a lack of communication. Now, this lack of communication between ourselves and the Parks Committee and City Council and Extension, the staff, has been going on for like 6 or 7 years in my case. I've been on the committee for 6 or 7 years. And basically, it was really, really simple. I told Nancy within 5 minutes of the meeting, I knew what the problem was. We asked, what did they see the role, what does the city and staff see the role of the Parks Committee as? And what is our expectations? And she stated quite clearly, she saw us as planning the 4th of July celebration and the city lighting ceremony. And as chairs, we all looked at each other. That's exactly the opposite of what we thought it was. We thought we were supposed to be informal advisors about everything that goes on in the parks, and a throw-in was the city tree lighting ceremony and the 4th of July. So at that level, I said, well, we just got to fix this. And we came out after about a 2.5-hour meeting. Thank you, Ms. Kane, for that amount of time. I know you didn't plan for that meeting to be 2.5 hours, but you stuck with us, and we came out with a clearer understanding of what our role is and how we can work together. The only thing that came up that concerns me going forward is some of you have been on the Parks Committee.
Dr. Miller, we've been well past 2 minutes. Yeah, I'm sorry. But thank you for your comments. Yes, sir. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. That concludes item number 12 for citizens' comments. Moving on to item number 13, reports and comments from mayor and city council members about everything that we have listed up there. We've talked about, I'll just say, hey, does anybody have anything else they want to add to what we've already talked about or stuff for the things listed?
I do.
Lise?
I'd like to add Hill Country Alliance Leadership Institute. I've been invited to participate in their inaugural class, and I'm super excited because it's virtual learning sessions once a month and then in-person learning sessions once a month as well. So Thursday is our first online session, and it just so happens that it is with someone from TML, and it is also with the director or a representative from the Texas Association of Counties. So it's an organization group that deals with county government. So I am super excited to hear what she has to say, and hopefully maybe we can learn some better ways to deal with our own county government. So I'm hoping to learn a lot and report back.
Awesome. So we're going to add that because we want updates with that.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Jesse?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for adding TxDOT to this list. You know, that's my request. And one thing, you know, to talk on the TxDOT is in some of the work that Lisa and I and Nancy were doing with this, you know, alternative transportation, is we met 3, you know, people from Bear County TxDOT. So that's our future contacts that maybe we can loop around, and we're not getting any work from Comel. So I'm going to use that, you know, to our benefit on that. So I have their contact information.
That's great. Thank you. We'll take all of that. Any contacts we can get within that organization. What else? Todd? Okay.
I don't think I got anything to add. We had a bunch of Boy Scouts here. We've still got a couple, 3 of them toughing it out in the back. And the only thing that also came to my mind is we need to try to line up the Boy Scouts cleaning up the road with the families of Garden Ridge. I mean, we put the dates together. They're both on here, so we can talk about both of them.
Yeah, no, that's a good transition. So we had a Families of Garden Ridge Adopt a Highway program pickup of FM 2252 on Saturday. We had 10 people, including myself out there. Again, huge thanks to Linda Potts and Rod Chamberlain's always out there, and as well as both of them recruiting people to come help us out. And we were able to get in a little over 2 hours, 3 hours for some, and more. We were able to get about 30 bags of trash and a bunch of associated road debris. And I want to point out too that Linda and Rod Chamberlain, Linda Potts and Rod Chamberlain, went out on Sunday morning and cleaned up Door Lane for a couple of hours. So, and Door Lane is perpetually a mess, tons of trash there. So thank you for that outstanding volunteerism to Linda and Rod. You guys are wonderful. Thanks for what you do. Our next cleanup is, which everybody's invited to, is April 1st, Saturday, April 1st. It's Lisa's birthday, so I think
It's
she
the
might have
mayor's
to
birthday,
come out
too.
and help out picking
The
up
mayor and I
trash.
share a
I'll bring
birthday.
balloons.
Yeah.
So then after that, it'll be Saturday, May 20th, and then the next one after that is July 1st. And so April 1st to get it cleaned up and celebrate Lisa's birthday. The 20th of May to help get it cleaned up for Davenport's graduation. And then the 1st of July to have it cleaned up before our parade and the 4th of July celebration at Paul Davis Park. So please come on out. And what we need to do, Todd, with that is have an additional cleanup of 3009. Maybe we can get together with this 828 and do that as a council and volunteers, because 3009 needs it desperately. So you and I maybe work on that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Troops in the back, you guys agreed? Hey, can I sign off your merit badge right now? Is that good? All
We'll
right.
get just some volunteer hours for it.
Volunteer hours are a good thing. And then Northeast Partnership Luncheon is tomorrow. So hope to see anybody that can make it, hope to see you there. Anybody have anything else they want to add? And Lisa will add Hill Country Alliance to this as well. Fantastic.
I've
Okay.
got one in Tri-County, though.
Go ahead. Oh, hey, we got a mixer.
Updates, yeah.
Go.
So, all right, so Next mixer, February 23rd at Freiheit. March 23rd at Bluebonnet Palace is a casino night, and this is for everybody. So it's not just members, and it will part of the proceeds will be going towards a nonprofit that hasn't been designated yet. April 27th, though, we have our Garden Ridge mixer, so everyone is welcome. Put that in your calendar. April 27th. Tentatively, I guess, at Paul Davis Park, unless we have some massive thunderstorm or something.
I thought it was the 20th.
I don't know. Let me look back on the website again.
It is the 27th, right?
Okay, all right.
No, or is it, what do you have? 27th?
27th
Okay.
on the website.
Nancy, that's my fault. I kept saying the 20th. April 27th, we are hosting,
It's usually the last Thursday.
that's right, hosting the mixer at Paul Davis Park. And that's going to be our re-push. Talking to Jeff Pruitt and John from First United Bank, they're going to be there with us to help continue to push that development that we love to see as a city along 2252.
Yeah, I really want to promote the heck out of this because, last mixer we had is when, I had some builders and friends that I know that have developed some really neat areas, like including downtown Cibolo. And they, 3 or 4 weeks prior to that, I said, do you have any interest in investing in Garden Ridge? They said, no. They came to the mixer, got to meet people in Garden Ridge, they drove around Garden Ridge before and after the mixer, and they're highly, highly motivated to do something in Garden Ridge now. And they do some really special stuff, so, yep.
So we're going to do the exact same thing on April 27th and then follow up with it.
I want to double our turnout this year.
That's right.
So, so everybody is welcome. Everybody is welcome. It's not just for chamber members.
And thanks in advance for volunteering to head that up. That's great. So great job. Okay, good. I think I surprised him with that. Volunteerism is the lifeblood of Garden Ridge.
Yeah, I didn't hear the part of it.
Okay, thanks for doing that. All right, anything else that I missed? Great, we'll move on to item number 14, executive session. The city council will recess its open meeting and reconvene in executive session. 14A pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.0711 and 551.0712, consultation with attorney, and 551.072, deliberations about real property. 14A1, to consult with and receive legal advice regarding variance and special use permit processes related to the development project Guadalupe Ready Mix proposed concrete batch plant at 2762 FM 2252. With that, we will recess our regular session at 8:22, and we will reconvene at 8:40 in the back. Marissa, is that enough time? Okay, 8:40 in the back in executive session. Thanks, everybody, for coming tonight. We appreciate it. It's great to see you all. Thanks. All right, we are reconvening in regular session at 9:26 PM on Wednesday. Item number 15, business items. We have no business items to bring forth from executive session into regular session. We'll move on to item number 16. There being no further business, the city council meeting is adjourned at 9:27 PM. We stand adjourned. Good night, Garden Ridge.